The actors have been paid. Let's go. Let's go. The actors have been paid. What is going on, Movie Meals? The actors have been paid. The podcast, Kyle and I were just filming it. We're filming a couple reviews right after, getting a lot of stuff done to kind of catch up here with little TV trays, baby. This is a TV trays special. Yeah. Remember, guys, this Movie Meals hoodie, it's incredibly comfortable. I wore it the other night out to my trivia night. TV-themed trivia for
You're wearing it right
TV
now.
trays. And I put this on. I was like, this is so comfortable. We're going to give one out to a fan who's been supportive of us, who's commented on videos, who's sharing us around and giving us likes. And once we get to 2,000, we're going to pick somebody. So please help us get to that point, and spread us around. It would mean a lot to us. Thank you, Movie Meal patrons, Kimberly, Karen, and the few others that do that. Go join it. Help support us. Because if you start supporting us more, we'll actually do more once we get paid some actual money. Because, you know, it stinks. Life stinks. It's hard to make money. All right.
It's actually miserable.
It is. We're hanging on by a thread here.
Mood.
We're here for Loki season 2. We both finished it last night, the finale. So we'll let's just do I don't know. You want to do spoilers?
Sure.
Spoiler review. Spoiler from this point on. Kyle, just free form. What were your thoughts on Loki? Positive, negative, doesn't matter. Spoilers galore for Loki season 2. What were your thoughts?
Overall, I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. And I think because seeing how the show ended, seeing this continuation of Loki's arc from the first season, which I also really liked, I think it stuck the landing in doing a better job at pulling the strings, I guess in the finale, that's also literal, not just metaphorically, but just pulling the strings and peeling back the layers of the character and doing a really good job at bringing him to recognize himself and to being a better version of himself. Looking back on it, I liked what was done with his arc through the Thor movies and I guess Avengers 1 in some ways.
He's always
but
been kind of the best character. You know what I mean?
Like, one of the better characters.
He really is one of the best.
But I do think this show almost did a better job at doing that more than what we had in the movies, which is kind of surprising to say because I definitely did not expect that when I first heard about this show. But hey, here we are, right? But that's really my big takeaway. I really liked Tom Hiddleston's role in this, and I really liked what they did for the character's arc to becoming a better version of himself, to being a selfless version of himself, to being one where he's more comfortable with himself and who he is, and that he's not trying to prove to anyone but himself. And I think the show does a really great job at focusing on that character. And I also like the character of Mobius as well. Yes. He kind of takes a bit more of a backseat, but the moments where it's really focusing on him are really good moments, in my opinion.
You know what's funny? I don't feel he took a back seat. I thought he got more of a front seat. I thought it was more Loki and Sylvie in season 1, and this was much more Loki and Mobius. I thought there were some really great moments with Mobius in this season, especially when he gets to see, obviously I'm going to say it again, spoilers, when he gets to see his family and what he should have had. And that end shot of him, I think, is excellent. It mirrors the end shot with Loki.
Absolutely.
I just didn't get that vibe. I thought Sylvie took a pretty big back seat. She really felt like she was sitting back there.
I would agree with that, and that was I'm glad that you brought that up because that was going to be one of my points. Between that and some of the other side characters that I liked enough in the first season, I felt like they really took a step back in this second one. Sylvie, I don't really recall if I liked her that much as a character in the first season. She was probably fine in my eyes, but I wish something else was added for the character. But yeah, it really does feel like it takes a back seat, especially for how the start of the show goes, in that she's trying to kind of rediscover herself and find her own life, but at the same time, there's just not much else there. There's not much else to learn about that character, so that was kind of a misbegged in handling that character in my eyes. I will say you can tell that they're kind of dodging and weaving around the Kang the Conqueror aspect of it all, the He Who Remains aspect of it all.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't
I would
get
say
that vibe
so.
at all.
And
And I
well,
haven't
just
seen
with
people talking like that.
the ending of the first season, it's setting up to being like, oh, this guy's a problem and we don't know what we're going to do about it. In the second season, I feel like that changed. I feel like that changed enough to where a version of him could still be around, but they made an effort, in my opinion, to give Marvel an out to not bring back Jonathan Majors and to pivot to a different character. Like kind of like, I don't know, maybe like a leader situation. Like the leader is probably out there, but we don't really need him at the same time. I think the show at least dances around that enough to where they did a good job because they unfortunately had to. But I just, yeah, I think it was just evident of that.
When did they film this though? Wasn't this done filming by the time all this stuff had happened with him?
No, I think it was filming during that time.
Because this stuff with Jonathan Majors hasn't been going on super long. That happened this summer.
I thought it was last summer. Was it not last summer? Because I thought the Kang stuff. Because in Ant-Man, I remember us talking about it with the Ant-Man
right.
thing.
It probably was over a year ago. Yeah, you might be right. And there's also the report that Marvel has always been considering moving off of him that came out in that bombshell shamble interview where they're like, we have always been pivoting. There is that line that Mobius
From Miss
says.
Minutes. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Wait, what's the Miss Minutes line?
I was thinking the Miss Minutes line in, what was it, episode 3, where she's talking to Ravencroft, whatever her name is, a character that I don't care about. But she was talking to that character and being like, we don't need him anymore. And it just felt...
Oh, when they said
like,
they could take over?
Yeah, we don't need it. And I was like, that really feels on the nose. And like you just said, I'm cynical. But
I think you read into that a little much. I think that was just for those characters in that
But
moment.
for the show to set up this Kane thing and then to have it just be almost an afterthought and to have like Miss Minutes be the antagonist for like the first half of the show and then the second half of the show is Loki doing his hardest to like fix what was broken because of Sylvie, which by the way, I really liked the second half. I thought that was great stuff and that was the most interesting to me. But it just felt like that was the situation to me. And I think it felt clear to me. What about you though?
I think you're reading way too into that line. I think there's a different line that should be read into more that they might be moving off of him. I think you reading too much in that. You saw that episode and you were like, "Yep, they're done. She said it. She said it." No, I'm just kidding.
Article came out after that episode, by the way, of them like, we'll probably move off of this character. So I'm just saying.
The line where everything is fixed before Mobius walks and says he's going to leave the TVA, and he says they say, I don't remember the exact line fully, but I can't remember the character's name. I'm just drawing all the blanks today.
She said, "Are you afraid?"
No, this is when after everything, and she walks up to talk to him and they're talking about, there's a line where someone says at the end when they're walking around that office while she's walking, either before or right when she's walking up to him, and she says, "How are we dealing with these Kang variants?" And Mobius says it's been going well, and that there was an issue on Earth 616, which we know is ours, or we assume is ours.
Adjacent. 616 adjacent.
What?
That's what he said. 616 adjacent.
Why does that change? Does that change something?
I'm just giving the full context. Like that's.
Yeah, and he says, but they took care of it.
Yeah,
and I think
people could read into that. I don't know.
The 616 adjacent is because I think it's Ant-Man, and it happened in that world, kind of in the tiny microverse underneath their universe in the quantum realm. Like so, and I think that of anything is Kevin Feige pointing and saying, "This is when we moved off of Kang. We told you." He was finished in Loki. He was finished in Ant-Man. We're moving off. I don't know if they will move off of him. The Jonathan Major stuff is crazy. It feels like every few weeks, it's like one day, like at first it was like, he's horrible. This is ridiculous. Like, how could he do this? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wait, maybe she's horrible. And then again, it was like, he's horrible. She's who's horrible? I don't know. I know he battles that out in court here within the next month or two, but I don't know. I don't know if they'll move off of him. I think he's a really talented actor. He's really good in Creed 3. He's very good as this character. I think at the end, He Who Remains, when he goes back and says, I know what you're doing. You're time slipping. He stops everything. That is the Kang that is scary. And that I was like, okay, this is why they had chosen him originally, because he is when he can just say and do that. But anyway, I really loved season. This is, I think, truly maybe the best thing they've done since Endgame of any of the new stuff. I think I didn't know about this comic run. Have you heard about this Loki, God of Stories? That's what everybody was saying. He'd become the God of Stories from the ending of this. Apparently, the little I've learned is because that's all I saw on Twitter last night. I got on Twitter immediately because we watched it. Maybe we started 5-10 minutes after it dropped, so I knew people would have watched it right away and already been talking about it. So I jumped right on to see what people were saying. And I saw some stuff about how, one, the imagery looked incredible. It was so nice seeing Marvel look really good. I loved the kind of wavy strings that it kept looking like when you would disintegrate and all this stuff. I love him grabbing the branches and turning the timeline that we always have seen as this long thread, and in reality, it's a tree. And not only that, it's the exegil, however you say it, of the Norse tree of life. And I think that is awesome. I think Loki learning always what he really wanted was just someone to be there. He kind of learned that lesson. I know it feels like Loki's been around so long. It's like he learned it and then he didn't, and he learned it and he didn't. But I love the way they wrap this up. The showrunner came out the other day and said, this is done. We have no plans for a season 3. Good. It's a miniseries. I 100% love it. I don't think you bring Loki back at all. We know where he is. He doesn't need to be around anymore. Let Tom Hiddleston go make other weird vampire movies like he made a couple years ago. But I loved it. I loved that imagery. I love the final shot of him. I think all that's excellent. And then what I saw on Twitter is that in a more recent comic run of Loki learns to embrace himself, and I think he embraces his variants in this comic run, and him and his variants become one, and he goes from Loki, the god of mischief, and he becomes Loki, the god of stories. And everybody was saying that is kind of part of the inspiration for what had happened, and that he has now become the god of stories. And as you hear all the god legends in Greek and Norse mythology of, Atlas has to hold the world. He is a god. He can't do anything other than hold the world. And I like that they went mythological, and that's what Loki's going to be doing. I like this god of stories idea, that he has become that, and it's his job to make sure that the branches continue to branch out. And it makes it, all the timeline stuff got confusing for me at times, and I like that it's in this tree form. The sacred timeline is the tree. It's the main part of the tree. And then we have all the branches, and everything is connected to that main point. And I really like that. I think that's really interesting and really cool. And I thought it was excellent. And Key is awesome as, what's the character's name? Obi. He's awesome. Are you kidding me? I love that they brought him into the MCU. I wish it would have been in a bigger role that I would see him for years and years to come, because he was so good. I hope he continues to get work.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Kyle? Thoughts?
Yeah, Ki Kwan, very great addition. I'm glad that he is finally getting the work. He seems like a genuinely great guy, and
you never know. You never know, Kyle.
True.
You never know.
Hollywood.
You don't get to pick and choose when you get to say that, pal.
Yeah,
he could
I'm a good
be
judge
an
of character.
asshole.
I'm a good judge. Oh
my God, this is absurd.
This is from a conversation on
points.
This is
Al's points.
Branching away from a podcast conversation we were having. So go check out the podcast.
Kevin Feige could be a jerk, but not Key. You, sir, ridiculous.
Kevin Feige has power.
Kyle loves to go around and pick and choose. Loves to be I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
It's great for him to be getting a role such as this in a big project. So happy for him. And yeah, as for the time stuff, I would be lying if I said I understood what the heck is going on. Sacred timelines, variants, whatever, timey-wimey, whatever. Honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. I just am enjoying the character stuff, especially for Loki. And if it's good at telling me that, if it's good at looking like a great show that cares about its characters, cares about like set design and everything else, when it comes to the concepts of like time involving in the plot, I could be forgiving about it if everything else goes well. So for me, it was fine. I had no problem.
Is it Secret Wars that's first, or is it Kang Dynasty?
I thought Kang Dynasty was first, but that could be Avengers 4 or 5, the Doctor Doom show, for all I know.
Secret Wars, yeah, is in 2027, and the other one, Kang Dynasty, is supposed to be 2026. Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
And the writer attached is Jeffy Boy, who wrote Quantum Mania. That's always fun. Anyway, yeah, Loki, I thought season 2 was really freaking good, and it made me happy because we haven't seen a really great Marvel thing. I wanted to see that shot in a theater. That's what was my thought. Similar with Ahsoka. Like, when you're this good on TV, let me see you in a theater. Like, that's what I want, man. I just made me miss Marvel really blowing me away in the theater. Obviously, I think they have. I think Guardians was really freaking good, but I thought Loki was great. I think these are characters you retire for sure. And if you're going to continue with time, I don't want them to get too crazy. We talked about that on the podcast. You can go check the rest of those thoughts out. But yeah, anything else, Kyle, or should we wrap this up?
No, great show. Glad they stuck the landing. Happy for Tom Hiddleston too. He has done an incredible job. Hopefully we'll see more of him in other things.
Yeah,
wondering what he's going to do next.
Yeah, put him in an Emerald Fennell movie. Saltburn 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Anything.
All right, guys. What did you think? Comment below. Let us know. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, thanks for watching, Mom.
See you guys.